finally saw the Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition cut, Ultimate Cut, which I can't even imagine why he made a movie that long. You know, Snyder made a movie that long knowing he'd probably have to cut it. This movie is this version of the movie, I should say, is a lot better than the one we got in theaters. Me personally, I was not a fan of the movie we got in theaters. However, I would definitely recommend Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Extended Edition. It was a lot better. I really liked it. At least me personally, I liked it a whole lot more than the original theatrical release. And I mean, I could get into all the positives and everything like that, but there's kind of too many. I mean, that's a great thing to say. I mean, I like this movie. I mean, if I had to give it like a numerical rating, it'd probably be like a solid 7.5, closer to an 8, but I'd have to let that marinate a little more before I actually finalize my decision on if I would give it an 8. I mean, it's really good. It's a really good movie. I mean, there's a lot of thematical things in it that tie it together better, just because you have more context for them. And then the symbolism in the movie is still there, so that's pretty cool to see that. Snyder loves his symbolism in these DC movies, and it's just a better movie overall. It flows better. My biggest problem with Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice was the first two halves in the movie, or not two halves, the first two acts of the movie did not flow well at all. The last part did flow well, but the first two had a lot of issues. You know, it was pacing issues, scenes that were cut that obviously should not have been cut, which obviously we know now should have never been cut for sure. So I mean, scenes such as we got more of Clark Kent in this movie, and it really helped build his motivation for why he wanted to stop Batman. You know, we kept hearing Clark Kent say, especially in the trailer for the movie, that, you know, he wanted to write about Batman, you know, that he thought this was wrong. And they never followed up on it in the actual theatrical release. But in this movie, they do follow up on it. And it gives more to the character of Clark Kent. You get to see more of his personality, what he's kind of thinking on the subject. It makes the movie more balanced in its characters. So a lot of people complain this felt more of a Batman movie that just happened to have Superman in it. This changes that. This makes it definitely feel like they're sharing the movie. If not, maybe it's a little bit more of a Superman movie because of how they do that, which I thought was really good. Honestly, just overall, that helped the movie be a lot better. I mean, certain scenes like, or I guess Clark is on top and he sees like the ghost of his father, things like that have a lot more context to it now. When he's talking to his mother, it's like, you know, be the savior, don't be it. You know, that has a lot more context to it now. The scenes with the, you know, hearing in DC has a lot more context to it now. There's a lot. Basically, what I'm saying is those scenes that were put back into the movie help like lay the foundation for a lot of other scenes we got later that before really didn't have much clarification to why they were, you know, the way they were. Now we know why they're the way they are, and it just works a whole lot better. KGBeast also. Let me just say this now. KGBeast is the standout of this cut, I have to say. Like, this movie came out theatrically as it is released now in the Ultimate Edition. Everyone would talk about KGBeast. The dude is a fucking monster in this movie. I mean, and it's weird because I would have never thought, you know, he'd be so heavily involved and so central to the plot in the theatrical version. Because in the theatrical version, he just seems like a henchman, you know? Like, in this movie, this cut, he's portrayed a lot differently. He's a lot more complex as a character. Like, there's more to his character. Like, he's a bigger threat. He's less of a henchman and more of a true secondary antagonist, which I really did like. I thought that was really good. Begs the question, who edited this movie? Because they're stupid. Now, another thing I really liked is Lex. Now, I didn't like Lex Luthor's character at first. You know, I understand, oh, he's manipulating everybody. Okay, that was kind of obvious, but wasn't too obvious how far that went in the actual version. In this version, with all these scenes in there, you really get to see the full kind of length of Lex's manipulation. And it goes as far as to, before at the end of the movie, I wasn't certain or not if Lex was actually crazy or if he was playing around with it. I mean, it was kind of hard to tell because he was doing that ping, ping, ping thing at the end, and then like, I thought that was like a breakdown or whatever, or a psychotic breakdown, I should say. But in this movie, it makes it fairly he's just playing everybody the whole time, all the way throughout. Like, I mean, at the end of the movie, when he's like, I'm insane, I can't stand, the way he's saying it is kind of just like if a kid would be like, well, I didn't know, or like, you know, that kind of thing. So it's obvious he's playing everybody, which I thought was really cool. I love how Batman was like, well, you know, usually he would, you know, treat you with care and stuff for mental illness, but you're going to Arkham. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, Batman just kind of ruining people's days. And speaking of Batman, best Batman we've ever gotten in a movie is Ben Affleck's Batman, hands down. Which is really hard for me to say because I grew up on Michael Keaton's Batman, so he was always my favorite. So I always got people, they were like, oh, Christian Bale's best, and I'd be like, nah, it's Michael Keaton's Batman. But now I gotta say, Ben Affleck's Batman. I mean, it was really cool to see when they had that security footage, having just kind of swooping in there and swooping out. And I mean, I pay a lot more attention to the Batman in this movie than I did when I first saw the movie. I've only seen the movie 3-4 times now, between, you know, both theatrical and Ultimate Edition. And I've only seen the Ultimate Edition once, though, obviously, because it's like 3 hours long. But I gotta say, this Batman's a lot more closer to the comics than I originally remembered him being, which was really cool to see, and props out to Snyder for that. He did a really good job with that. Now, Lois Lane was also a lot better in this movie because she actually had a subplot. Before, in the theatrical version, she was just kind of always there. You know what I mean? Like, she was just kind of like this very convenient character that happened to have all these plot, you know, things already like taken care of for her that further explain things in the movie. In this one, we actually get to see her doing reportive stuff to find that, but also it's a lot more fleshed out. So it seems less of like a plot convenience and more of an actual, you know, subplot for the character that helps progress the story overall, which I really did enjoy. And like I said before, whoever edited this movie needs to be slapped in the face because they embarrassed themselves, but they also embarrassed everyone that worked on this movie for no reason, because this movie is actually a solid movie. Like, it's a good movie, and it's really sad to see how badly it got butchered on the editing table for the theatrical release. The Martha thing, also, I have as a pro. I know a lot of people are like, wouldn't that be a con? It made a lot more sense in this movie. The reason why is because with all the extended scenes, a lot of there's a huge conflict here that Superman has with himself. You know, trying to maintain his humanity, trying to connect with other people. That's a huge thing, which we get to really feel with all these extended scenes. Batman also has his whole dilemma too, where he's kind of lost himself. You know, like, he doesn't really have that, he probably doesn't feel like he has that redemption for himself anymore. Like, he's just kind of in a dark place. And they really make a point to mention that when they have the other people in Gotham talking to Clark when Clark's doing his journalism stuff. You know, they're like, he's been angrier, you know, over the past few years, and he's more brutal and stuff like that. He's judge, jury, executioner, like all that stuff. Like, they really make a point in these other scenes that weren't in the theatrical release really to kind of flesh that out more, to really develop that more. So when you get to that Martha scene, instead of it just being like this stupid, like, oh wow, they both have the same, you know, the mom has the same name, like, okay, that's kind of stupid, that's really convenient. Instead of it coming off like that, it came more of kind of Batman rediscovering his humanity and his compassion. That's what, at least to me, that's what it came off more as. And then the plot overall, I thought with the extended scenes, it just it just flowed a lot better, honestly. This movie actually would have been a good competitor for Captain America Civil War in the extended version. This movie probably would have broken $1 billion because it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie, actually. And it's weird that I'm actually saying this because I was probably what a lot of people would consider a main kind of negative person regarding this movie. But yeah, let's get into my cons. So I only had 3 cons. I know I just talked a whole bunch of positives because the movie, I mean, it did a lot better for me personally viewing it than maybe other people. I know Nick had his opinions, which should be respected. I know a lot of people are going on him in the comments, but I mean, he's a bigger DC fan, I think, than me overall. Like, I know my favorite characters like Tim Drake, Wally West, you know, in Shazam, DC side. Like, my top 3 characters are all DC. Overall, I think Nick, geez, I almost said Tim. Overall, I think Nick is a overall bigger DC fan than me, by far. But besides those 3 characters are mine, no Nick, so back off. But cons I have are the nightmare scene. I thought that was really out of place in the movie. I thought it would have been better if they maybe had a scene setting it up, like he falls asleep, because they've already kind of established in this movie that he has these dreams when he's asleep. But in this nightmare scene didn't have anything like that. It was just kind of he's there at the table, you know, at the screen and stuff in the Batcave, and then wham, nightmare scene. It might have been, I mean, I understand maybe he was doing that for kind of like a shock factor, like a quick cut, instead of doing like a smoother transition. But I feel like a smoother transition, like showing Bruce, you know, kind of fall asleep and it's streaming, would have been better. It probably would have been easier to understand for the casual viewer that was just kind of thrown into this nightmare scene all of a sudden and didn't understand if there was actually a part of the movie or not, or whatever. Also, you could have taken out the Flash thing. I thought that was kind of, I mean, I understood the point of it, but that's because I actually understand, you know, the comic background behind that stuff. if I was a casual viewer, which I have talked to casual viewers, they had no idea what that was all about. They thought it was kind of like just thrown in there. So I feel like that was kind of unnecessary. Even though I understand, and I really don't want anyone commenting, you don't understand the nightmare scene. I understand the nightmare scene. It just didn't need to be, excuse me, it just didn't need to be in the movie because it kind of detracts the flow a little bit. I mean, I didn't mind the scene where like Wonder Woman's going through the Lex files that Batman decodes and stuff like that. That didn't really bother me because the way they did it, I mean, it's not the best, but I mean, it still kind of technically works in context. This, however, was just kind of in there. So I just thought it would be better if they just took it out. The movie would just kind of flow a lot better, have a lot more focused storyline in that regard, instead of having to detract for like one scene, which is obviously just a setup. I mean, it was cool seeing parademons and stuff, but there's that. The other reason why I have that scene as like a negative in my mind is because Batman uses a gun. Now a lot of people are like, but they're gonna be like, but Josh, Batman kills all the time in different media. That's cool. I mean, that's whatever. I know he killed in his first appearances. I know he had a handgun in his first appearances. But that's a lot different Batman than we have today. And the Batman we have in modern media, you know, take out the no killing rule, he never uses a gun. That goes against a core part of his character now. You know, a core part of his kind of pillar as a character. You know, guns are not a part of that. He hates guns. Guns are the, you know, even in The Dark Knight Returns, which this movie takes a lot of inspiration from, Batman gives a speech on how guns are the tool of the enemy. We do not use guns. So to see Batman use a gun, I mean, it wasn't even like an energy gun or anything like that. It wasn't like a battering gun. It was a legit assault rifle. To see that was kind of like, that was a big no-no for me. You know, understand, you know, the ideals of this character, you know, what this character stands for, his beliefs. Doomsday was also, I think, didn't need to be in here. I think Metallo would have probably worked better in the scenario. But yeah, Doomsday, I understand why, because if they're going to do Death of Superman, you kind of need Doomsday, I guess. But at the same time, I just felt like you're kind of peaking too early. You know what I mean? I know they have Wonder Woman in it helping. Batman just kind of hanged in the back. He was like, so dude. But yeah, overall, I just thought Doomsday was a bad idea to go this early. Especially with the whole, like, he has like an electro blast thing. I was like, fuck out of here with that shit. And then Death of Superman. I get it. I get the want to do this. Like, I get wanting to do this. But I'll tell you why it's dumb for 3 reasons. One, this is the second movie we've had with the Superman. Which means that all future movies, the tension of him possibly dying is gone if he just comes back. Because we're going to be like, oh, he dies? Okay, well, he'll just come back to life. So there's really no tension there. Just like how, like, in the Wolverine movies, there's no tension unless they take away his healing factor. Then you're like, oh shit, he might actually get killed. Even though we know he's a protagonist, he won't die. So that's one reason I think Death Superman is a bad idea. Second, we know he's coming back anyways. So, I mean, separate of the fact that it kills tension from other movies, it's just kind of stupid when we know he's going to be in, you know, the Justice League movie. So we're just kind of like, well, you're just wasting Death Superman because it has no impact both in the movie world now and also has no impact in the real world watching it. Because both worlds are going to, you know, lose that kind of tension of him dying because one has already been done now and he's just come back. Especially for us as the viewer because we know for certain he's just going to come back. Then my third reason why I think this is a bad idea is because you killed Clark Kent off with Superman. So how are you going to do the other Superman movies when Clark Kent is the character you follow personality-wise? Superman is not the character you usually follow in a Superman movie character-wise. I know that's weird to say, but usually the character you follow is Clark Kent. I mean, it's not like the Batman movies, where the majority of the time, it's Batman who uses Bruce Wayne more so as a persona. Clark Kent's the character, Superman is more of the kind of costume, persona, whatever have you. I don't really agree with them doing Death Superman. Comment below with your guys' thoughts down below. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you liked my new mic. This is Josh. If you don't know who I am, then, well, you don't know who I am. I've been getting that a lot lately. So, yeah. See you guys later.